Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide, and in today's video we are going to be doing two 24-inch reflective LCD or RLCD monitors. The SVD RE2.0 Eve and the Eazeye Monitor 2.0. You can find reviews for both of these individually on my deep guide, as I've already covered them, but today we're doing a direct back-to-back or side-to-side shootout between these two monitors. Let's start with the specifications and the differences between these two. Both are 24-inch monitors using a 1080p resolution, so 1920 by 1080 at 60 Hz, and both run true 8-bit color gamut. Eazeye Monitor does not have a front light of any kind, so it relies on natural lighting and environmental lighting completely, while the SVD has an adjustable single color front light. SVD also has a protective lens with an anti-glare layer, while the Eazeye does not have that. It just has dimming of the reflections, but the reflections remain quite sharp. Both sport a kickstand design, with the SVD kickstand going to the maximum of 45 degrees and the Eazeye going to 60 degrees angle, which is effectively quite a lot better, especially for an RLCD panel, because that allows it to capture more light from the environment. Both are VESA mount compatible. SVD has more connectivity options because it offers one HDMI, one DisplayPort, one USB-C for display connectivity, and also it supports a USB hub with two USB-A ports and a 3.5mm audio jack. Eazeye Monitor's connectivity is a little bit more sparse because it has one HDMI and one USB-C for display connectivity, and it has a dedicated extra USB-C port for extra power delivery. However, you can use a single USB-C cable and port for both powering and delivering the display content to the Eazeye monitor, which is not the case with the SVD. SVD is using a ridiculously old 120 watt power brick, which you have to lug around and hook it up to your mains, etc., etc. There's a significant difference in bulk and weight, with Eazeye Monitor 2.0 weighing just 2.2 kilograms and the SVD Eve monitor weighing a whopping 4.8 kilos. And you really feel that difference. However, the difference that you're gonna feel way more is the price difference, because Eazeye Monitor 2.0 costs $999 US, which is a lot for a 24-inch panel. But the SVD RE2.0 Eve, again 24-inch monitor, costs $1,699 US. So $700 US difference between these two. So what are the key differences between these two? Well, SVD has a front light, which Eazeye doesn't. Eazeye is a way more portable solution with the weight and single cable connectivity. SVD does have an anti-glare layer that helps with the reflections, but in some situations can hinder with the glare itself, while Eazeye doesn't and suffers from traditional RLCD reflections issues. And there's a whopping $700 US price difference between the two. So let's start with the design and build quality differences. And SVD is basically a dated design. It's bulky with wide bezels. However, the build quality is exceptionally good. It's metal all around and it just feels like a really well built device. Eazeye, on the other hand, represents a very sleek and portable design, but its biggest point here is that it's light, portable. Unfortunately, it's not really well built, because when you use it outdoors, the front panel, the glue of it that's used to glue the plastic bezel around onto the screen itself, starts to unglue when exposed to sunlight, and even after, like, I don't know, about an hour or so, it just starts to kind of, unglue. So nowhere near as well built as the SVD is. What about image quality and performance? Well, let's tackle outdoor examples first. Eazeye represents a traditional RLCD panel, and those excel at good lighting conditions, especially outdoors on a sunny day. And Eazeye Monitor 2.0 exhibits excellent brightness and sharpness and crispness outdoors. It doesn't have much glare at all, so the reflections are not glaring, but they are really well defined. So if you do have something that's hitting your panel and it's reflecting, it will be a distraction because it's going to be a sharp type of a reflection on the panel itself. This can be a real-world obstacle depending on your setup. SVD, on the other hand, has a much more dimmer and less sharper and less good image quality, as thoroughly discussed and covered in the review of this panel. But that image quality and dimming of the brightness of the overall panel is very easily observable. We're not talking about something subtle, it's something that's clearly visible between the two. While the anti-glare layer effectively kind of dissolves reflections in a really good way, so you do not have well-defined reflections at all, those reflections are dissolved into this glare, which can under some circumstances become an obstacle, especially if the angle of the light source is such that it hits the panel from the side. Then you may end up with a large blob basically occupying the majority area of your screen. This was especially noticeable when used outdoors with the sun becoming a ginormous blob over the screen on the SVD and just a small circle on the Eazeye monitor. When we move these monitors into indoors, well, the roles completely reverse, because Eazeye has good performance for a raw LCD panel, but that's not saying much because it's completely dependent on environmental lighting. And that means that on a sunny day with a good window and good positioning, you will be able to use it. But on a cloudy day with suboptimal or even optimal window positioning, you are completely dependent on environment lighting, and that can very quickly become an obstacle, especially with the reflections. They can easily become more intense than the image itself, and they can overpower it, thus becoming a distraction and at some point even not really usable. SVD, on the other hand, offers a very average or maybe even below average raw RLCD performance indoors because it's dimmed and the image quality that we've talked about. However, you have that front light, and that front light is a complete game changer in this case for indoor use. Even at 1% of intensity, that front light transforms the whole panel from barely usable or unusable to completely usable and normal type of a use experience on an RLCD panel indoor in suboptimal conditions. Reflections are very successfully combated via the anti-glare layer, and indoors where the light sources are of a much lower intensity and you have more control over where the light sources are coming from and it's more static, i.e. the sun is not changing, that means that once you have the setup that you don't have any glare, you will also not have any reflections whatsoever, and you will have the front light on top of it, which means that indoors the SVD absolutely goes into a category of its own when compared to the Eazeye 2.0. So what's the final verdict between these two? Well, let's see what I scribbled on in here. Neither are a perfect choice and both are specialists. What does that mean? Well, that means that SVD RE 2.0 EVE specializes for indoor use of an RLCD monitor, and as such it compromises the outdoor performance noticeably. For indoors, SVD represents basically a product in a category of its own, but outdoors, doesn't really perform that well. Eazeye Monitor 2.0, on the other hand, specializes in delivering as raw as possible RLCD experience. Because of the highly portable design, it actually embraces the outdoor use and makes it as hassle-free as possible, which really transforms the real-world usability of such a monitor. And then it also makes sense that they've actually included a carry bag with it, because that opens up the possibility that you can carry a 24-inch monitor and use it outdoors and enjoy that by hooking it up to your phone or to your tablet or to your PC or to whatever via a single cable. That is a profoundly transformative experience but in this case, outdoors. However, when you bring it indoors, then you will have no helping hand to combat the traditional problems that a raw LCD panel face, such as complete dependence on environmental lighting and reflections intensity. So if you're looking for indoor usability of an RLCD monitor on a 24 hours a day and 365 days a year basis, the SVD beats the Eazeye Monitor 2.0 any hour of any day of the year. There you have it. That's the comparison between these two monitors. Please do let me know in the comments down below what is your experience and what is your opinion about these two, because I find them genuinely interesting as they are going in two completely opposite directions. Eazeye for outdoor, offering something completely new, SVD for indoor, offering something completely new. When you are considering an RLCD panel, especially at this super high price range, what are your expectations and what are you actually considering this monitor to use for? I hope that you liked the video. If you did, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell in the description below, because that truly does help the channel, and the channel needs your help because the YouTube algorithm is burying it. The interactions and the actual performance of the video is better than before, but the algorithm for some reason has this year decided to cut down the exposure and offering of my deep guide videos for more than 80%. And that is a real problem. So if you watch the channel, please do subscribe, do like, do share, because that will genuinely help. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye.